time for Pitmaster and the Doc.
It's Pitmaster here. I'm here with the Doc.
How's it going, John? Good to see you.
Fantastic. We are going to talk about past fights, present fights, future fights, concussions, cuts, abrasions, dislocations, the UFC, Bellator, Ultimate Fighter. We're going to talk about all kind of stuff.
This is going to be a long podcast today. Holy crap.
I was joking. We're not going to talk about all that stuff.
We might even mix some medicine in this week. That'll be good.
We got some medical stuff about a spit test.
Yeah, someone asked some questions, so we'll get to that when it comes up later.
Okay. That's what she said. All right. Anyway. Okay. That was so not funny. All right. So, first off, let's talk about the fights last weekend. There was... who's the main event again? It
was Cub Swanson.
Cub Swanson got stopped. Cub Swanson got stopped in the third round, I think. It was a good fight. It went back and forth. But Cub got caught in that guillotine in the beginning. Looked like it was trying to turn it into a Doris or Anaconda or whatever. But he got caught, and he started fighting his way out of it. The bell rang. I could have saved him. Maybe he was on his way out. We'll never know. But then he got caught with it again, standing, and the guy jumped on. He gave him a standing guard and was able to tap him out that way. Shit happens. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I think all we can say is Cub Swanson's a really good fighter. He's still going to go up to the higher, he's going to stay up in the higher level. I don't know if he'll ever be a champion. He very well could be. But I think what this fight shows even more than that, we all know Cub Swanson's a really good fighter. But now we know for a fact that Brian Ortega is a really good fighter. I mean, he had great stand-up defense, great, we always knew he had great submissions, but he is the real deal. He just submitted Cub Swanson. So I think the main thing this fight showed, it didn't show much about Cub Swanson. We know that already. And anybody can lose in a knockout or submission or whatever. So it didn't prove to us anything about Cub, but it did. It made a statement, bang, about Brian Ortega.
What did you think about that finish and what Ortega did, jumping up on him for the choke? And would that work anywhere else? I mean, it looked scary. When I saw that, I was wondering, well, why doesn't he just go down to the ground? He stood and held the guy up the whole time and got choked out and tapped while he was standing, which was pretty impressive. So would you do that anywhere else? I mean, that worked in the ring, obviously.
Yeah, it'll work in the cage, and it's a 6-1, half time the other. In the street, I mean, a lot of things in the cage won't work in the street, and vice versa. I don't know if this would work. It might work in the street. You could. The chances of you, when you're standing up, you slamming him down on the concrete, chances are he's going to let go. But you have to realize your head is there too on the other side. So I've seen people, even in the cage or the ring, slam people down and hit their own head and get knocked out.
Or even hit their head into their head. I mean, you could definitely get knocked out that way.
It would be dangerous, but doing this in the street wouldn't be as safe on concrete because of your head. Their head is higher than yours. So the whip, kind of like a Rampage Jackson did that to Arona in Pride, but it was with a triangle, and Rampage actually stood up, pulled him up, and slammed him down and knocked Arona out cold. So that could have happened in the street. I don't know. I don't think it would be really wise to do that in the street. I've seen people get knocked out doing that in sport fighting as well. But if you take him to the thing about taking him to the ground, once he has you're already in his guard standing. So if Cub brought it to the ground, you would give up control. He would lose more control, and Brian would actually gain more control because he already has him in the guard. So he already has control of his own hips, and he's controlling Cub's hips. So it would have been, to me, 6-1, half to the other. If it hit the ground, I think he still would have had him and just tweaked it up. I don't think Brian would have. I don't think it would have been efficient to go to the ground with that. And in the cage, once you hit the ground, I think his chances of being choked out would have been better. But he got choked out anyway. So he took a gamble and he lost. But
seems like anytime you're carrying around your opponent, you're doing a lot of work.
but once it hits the ground, you're on top of them, but they have their legs around you and they're controlling your hips, and theirs are still free. And he has more ability to crank up on that choke once his back's on the ground in the guard.
And in the street, in that position, you're giving up any ability to protect your own head from hitting the concrete, which from that height could be really bad. So
yeah, that was a scary move, and it doesn't happen often. You see it happening. I don't know. I've seen it happen probably a dozen times in the UFC. But if you can do it to someone like Cub Swanson, you're fucking good. And Brian Ortega, we knew he was good going in, but now we know it for a fact. It's been stamped. Brian Ortega is good. Bing. So the next fight was an interesting one. Knight against Benitez. Jason Knight is known for being like a crazy, just this crazy guy he's been winning a lot. But he just got out everything by Benitez. I mean, he tried some takedowns, and that's what we thought he was going to do, because he does have a boxing background, or wrestling background. But nothing was working against Benitez. Benitez had his answer for everything. He was just out. I'm not gonna say outclassing him as a fighter, but that night he was outclassed, and everything that Jason Knight did, Gabriel Benitez answered, and then came back with something that Jason couldn't answer. So it was mainly stand up. Tried a few takedowns. I think he got one. He got right back up on his feet. There was one weird position where Jason had him up against I think he had him up against the cage, and he was trying to take Benitez down, and Benitez was pushing on Jason's head. It looked like, trying to control his head, and I guess his fingers ended up in Jason's mouth. So Jason bit down on his fingers, and the referee stopped it real quick and took a point away, which I think was the good call, because he did bite him, and even later he admitted biting him.
Is there a rule against putting your fingers in someone else's mouth? Because pulling someone down by their cheek or putting your fingers in their mouth,
that's illegal.
So that's illegal anyway.
But there was no camera. It was against the cage, and nobody
couldn't see it.
You couldn't see if he put his fingers in his mouth or he went out and bit him. But I mean, for Jason's,
I think both happened.
Yeah, and I think both happened. I think his finger slid in his mouth by accident, and I think Jason bit down on it. If he bit down on it hard, it probably would have done a little bit of damage. Not as much because of the mouthpiece, but if he bit down hard, just your jaw crushing a finger or two could do some noticeable damage. So I think maybe he was biting and saying, "Bro, get your hand out of my mouth." I don't think Gabriel was trying to do a fish hook or anything, and I don't think Jason was trying to hurt him. So I think he got a point taken away because he did bite down and he shouldn't have, but I don't think he was trying to do any damage. I don't think either one of them was. I think it was just an unfortunate thing that happened. Didn't have any effect on the fight, that one point, because the fight was stopped. It wasn't stopped.
It was a decision.
But he could have got that point he could have got that point taken away, and then or not. He could have got an extra point by Gabriel every round, and he still would have lost. So that point meant absolutely nothing in the decision. Like I said, if it was the other way around and he got an extra point, he still would have lost. If that happened every round, he still would have lost. He lost that fight big. So
if someone sticks their hand in someone's mouth and the other guy bites, shouldn't they both? That's a foul on both of them, right?
Yeah, but he knew he bit him, but he didn't know he put his finger in his mouth. His finger could have been over here, and he could have bit it. We don't know. I mean, so we didn't see, the camera didn't show that part. So all we do know for a fact is that Jason bit it. We don't know for a fact Benitez put his finger in his mouth. And if he did put his finger in his mouth as an accident, that's one thing. Biting isn't an accident. So
but let's say he bit him and he didn't have his fingers in his mouth. You just bite your opponent. You'd also just get a point taken away. Yeah? Right. It just doesn't seem like as big of a deal if the guy's sticking his hand in your mouth that you bite him. I don't know.
Yeah. You can argue
kind
that.
Of self-defense.
You can argue that with the judge or the judges or the ref, but he did put his finger in his mouth.
Well, the good thing is it didn't change the outcome.
It did not change the outcome of the fight, Miguel. He was losing that fight. Great fight by Benitez. We're gonna see him soon. I mean, if he fights the way he fought against Jason Knight, he's gonna climb that ladder quick. He looked freaking great. All right, let's go on to the next fight.
This one's worth talking about.
Yeah. Marlon Moraes against Aljamain Sterling. I hated that fight. I hated it, and I loved it at the same time. I loved it because I'm not a huge fan of Aljamain, or not a fan. I just don't know him that well. I haven't watched him fight that much, and I didn't know Moraes at all. Even though I did see him fight against Dobson, I didn't recognize him. But I do like Aljamain's style, but I haven't really watched him that much. I just know he's an up-and-comer. The reason I loved it was, the reason I hated it was because Aljamain got hurt. He got knocked out, and, if you get knocked out for 5 seconds, it seems like 10 minutes, because when someone's unconscious, like, it just, every second seems like a minute because it's so scary. But I heard someone say that it was being timed and he was out for almost 3 minutes. And to me, if you're unconscious for close to 3 minutes, that's a coma. And if someone's been in a coma, I don't think they should ever fight again. I think that's scary shit. So that's the part that I hated. The part that I liked was, this guy's such a tough guy, Moraes, and he's just a freaking beast. I mean, some guys look like they're so buff, but they just don't hit that hard. But Moraes looks like he's so buff, and he does hit that hard. I mean, you could tell in the very beginning of that first round, like 2 seconds in, that this guy was a fucking beast. And he knocked him out with a knee. It was an unintentional knee.
It was, sort of, right?
Yeah, he wasn't even trying to hit him at all with the knee.
It was a strike, though. I mean, he was kicking him, and Aljamain came into it, so they met at the knee and the head, which was not good.
No,
but knockouts aren't all the same. I mean, one knockout, they all aren't the same. So one knockout could be you get knocked out. Another knockout, it could be a much more severe injury, probably as evidenced by how long he was knocked out. I mean, they don't show that on TV, but
no,
I know you heard about it. So, being knocked out that long is scary. Not technically a coma, but scary.
I know.
And then the interesting thing was, and I think people made a big deal of this online, was, the way he held his hands after he got knocked out. You see that with more severe concussions. So you get a concussion, and if it's more severe, you can have what's called posturing. Posturing means your body takes on your arms are taking on a certain position unconsciously. You're putting them in a position. It's probably a reflex from when we were babies, but basically you're getting knocked out so bad and have an injury that you posture. And what he did, people are making fun of it and saying he was dabbing, which whatever that is, but basically you put one arm out and you have the other arm flexed, and that's called the fencing position. So or a fencing posture, and that's well known in people that study concussions, is if someone has that fencing posture with one arm out and the other one flexed, it's a pretty severe injury.
That's not good.
No, it's not good at all.
That's not good news at all.
It's not just an injury to your brain, but it's an injury probably to your midbrain and brain stem. So when you see someone that has posturing, a certain percentage of concussions that are more severe will have that, and you see it in the NFL, you see it in ice hockey, you see it in anywhere. If you look it up online, look up the fencing position, and you can see a whole host of knockouts that lead to people positioning their arms like that. And it's good to notice because when you see that, in some sports, you can't tell if someone gets knocked out. There's a bunch of people on both sides, both teams, like in football, someone may get knocked out and then get up right away, and they'll deny that they were knocked out. And if you see someone make that position with their arms, you know 100% they were knocked out. In fighting, it's obvious, and the guy's knocked out. But when you see that kind of posturing, it is a little bit scarier. It is a more severe brain injury.
It was terrible.
So.
Even which another thing I love about Moraes, nobody wants to hurt anyone in there. I mean, there's some douchebags that I'm sure are fighters and they want to hurt each other, but it's 99.9% of the guys just want to win the fight. They love their opponent just like another martial artist. And Moraes was crying. He was so upset and so scared for Aljamain.
But you're not going to, you want to, I would imagine if you're a fighter, your goal is to knock the guy out because you're going to get knocked out.
Right.
But to see that kind of reaction and that kind of severe brain injury, not to say he didn't bounce back and not to say he isn't fine, but, it is a sign that it's a more severe injury, which is concerning for as far as getting back to training. And,
right. And I bet Moraes was scared. When he saw him doing that, he just freaked out. And he was like, I did that to that guy? That's scary shit. One of the worst fights I saw ever in my whole career of watching fights, I've seen a lot of knockouts, was my son knocked somebody out. And it bothered me so much they knocked someone out. I broke down. It was like, I got me really upset and I was emotional because I couldn't believe my own son just knocked out someone. It was an MMA match, so it wasn't like he was beating up like his wife or anything. But just the fact that I was watching, I was just thinking, how can my son do that to another person? I fought plenty of people, and I've seen all my fighters knock people out. But for some reason, knowing that it was my son and he just knocked someone out, it was some scary shit. So I can imagine how Moraes felt. I never honestly felt that way when I was fighting. I think my fighting day was different, and I've knocked out plenty of guys, but I never worried oh, is he okay? I just never did. I wasn't a nice person, I don't think, like Moraes is. And I think Moraes is truly a nice person. I just became a huge fan of him, watching not only the way he fought, but the way he reacted after the fight, knowing that he beat the guy and hurt the guy and had such a big heart. I'm a bigger fan than I ever would have been just in his fighting alone. So I'm one of Moraes' biggest fans right now.
Have you seen, one of the other things that can happen when you have that posturing response is you can go into convulsions too. You can have a seizure basically.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of seizure you need to treat with medication. It's something that will resolve also. They just need to be supported. But have you seen that? Have you seen someone have a convulsions or a seizure after a knockout?
I've seen minor convulsions. I've never seen a seizure. And since I know what a seizure is and I know the difference, a lot of people will call a convulsion a seizure. And I've seen minor convulsions. I've never seen a seizure in a fight. I would fucking freak out if I saw that. And I've never seen one.
But you'll see, I think the convulsions you'll see with a knockout, it's not common, but
right.
it does happen.
And I've seen minor convulsions in a fight. I've seen minor and major posturing of both decerebrate and decorticate types, and both have freaked me the shit out. But I've never seen a seizure.
Well, we use that posturing in medicine if someone's in an actual coma, like they got in a car accident or whatever happens, in medical coma, whatever happens. But you use that posturing as part of your grading, or you're grading how bad someone's coma is. Those are bad. When it gets down to decorticate and decerebrate posturing, that's almost as bad as it gets. Non-responsive is worse, but those are just above that. So pretty scary to see that in a fight. If you're the doc at the ringside, that's not fun. That kind of stuff's scary.
And they, luckily for the UFC, I gotta say, they go that extra mile. I don't know about the new owners, but the old owners, they had a plastic surgeon travel with them everywhere to cut. So most of the times, the guy sewing up the cut is just some old guy that a promotion said, "Oh, we need a doc," so they find they can find a freaking they can find a general practitioner, whatever. They could just find anyone. ER doc would be great, but the UFC goes that extra mile. They actually have a orthopedic surgeon travel with the fights. Orthopedic surgeon. They have a plastic surgeon travel with all the fighters so they can sew them up in the back so they don't get scarred. And they have a neurologist. Okay? So, and they have an ER doc. The ER doc he's Dr. Davidson. He oversees, he's the main guy, and he oversees all the other docs, where they travel and how they go, and he connects it all. But so that's kudos for the UFC for doing that.
I think that's a big deal because if you go to smaller fight promotions, you'll have a fight doc, which, it's hard to be good at everything.
No.
As an orthopedic surgeon, I cover sporting events. You learn about concussions, you know how to manage airways and you know how to manage things, but I'm not an ER physician. And then you have you go to the UFC and you have these different specialties represented. You're going to have a lot higher level of care when you have all those things there. So
that's huge.
I think that's pretty good for the fighters that are at least fighting at that level. Unfortunately, the level before that, you're probably not getting that kind of.
No. I've seen OBGYNs get hired I swear to God, I was at a fight in LA once and I was talking to the ringside doc, and she was an OBGYN. I saw a chiropractor once. But like I said, the UFC takes it to like the next level. I don't know about Bellator, they might, but I know for a fact, Dr. Sue in the UFC, he's a plastic surgeon based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I know Dr. Davidson's an ER doc. I think the ortho guy might be Dr. Davidson too. But anyway, kudos to them. Moraes is one of my favorite fighters on the planet now. Aljamain, I hope you feel better. I hope, man, I don't want you to fight again. I want you to get a battery of fucking tests. Not just don't just get that CT scan. Go to a neurologist. Get a friggin' MRI. Have a full battery of neuro tests, please.
So it really comes down for these fighters getting back and getting cleared to get back to contact it's neurocognitive testing. A lot of the stuff that happens in your brain you can't image. An MRI, even the best MRIs we have today and CT scans aren't going to see the type of brain injury that happens, with this. And in fact, that's even the problem with the repetitive brain injury and what they call CTE is you can't really diagnose it until someone's dead. You do an autopsy and look at their brain under a microscope and do some staining. Then you're like, oh yeah, this guy's got chronic traumatic brain injury.
I would have that if they tested right now. I would have that.
Yeah, we need to take a biopsy.
I swear to God, I have some kind of damage. But okay, so with that said, like what I do, if that was my fighter and he was gonna fight again, and I couldn't talk him out of it, I wouldn't even let him spar for the next 3 months. I will not let him anywhere near sparring. He could hit the bag in another few weeks. He could do some grappling, but no takedowns. Because when you do takedowns, a lot of times your head hit. I don't want anything hitting his head. He would not be able to spar or do freestyle grappling or anything where he might hit his head at all for at least 3 months.
So timelines, they're good because you can say, okay, we're just going to block you out of doing that for a certain amount of time. But the problem is some concussion symptoms last for longer than that.
Yeah.
If you have a severe enough concussion or multiple concussions piled up, is you can have symptoms longer than that. And so the way we get around that now is we actually do testing where we test your neural function. So it's called a neurocognitive test. You have to check your reaction time, your concentration, your memory. It can be done on the computer so you can see when someone's back to their baseline. Then you actually have something other than time to go, okay, look, this guy's good. And maybe you get better faster, or maybe you get better slower. At least you have something to follow.
But the thing that I would have a problem with those things is because if they seem better on that test sooner, I still don't want them to fight till later.
Yeah, you can wait. You can err on the side of safety and wait longer. And then some people are symptom free, but then you put them through exertion, You go run them on the treadmill, and then their symptoms return. So it's not just, hey, I'm good at sitting here in my chair. They have to be, get their
stress test.
Yeah, they have to be stress tested with exercise. So there's that. And then someone asked a question on our last week's podcast, which is great. Someone asked about a spit test for grading concussion severity. So there was an article in the last few months this year that some researchers tested saliva looking for certain parts of DNA or RNA, and they could actually predict the severity of a concussion based on how much of that stuff they found in your saliva. You could do a blood test too. But they're just trying to develop a simple test where you can say, okay, my kid or whoever got a concussion, how bad is it? If you could do an easy test like a swab test like they do for strep and say, oh, this is a severe concussion, we can predict you're going to have symptoms for a month. Great, you can plan out, you can plan not returning or whatever. So there's some interest in that. It really hasn't been validated yet. So someone asked about that. I personally think it's a great idea. Any more tools that we have to grade concussions other than, it's not very reliable when you have different doctors doing all these tests and just asking questions. If you have something you can actually test, send off to the lab, see how severe the concussion was, I think that would be great.
But it's not even it's
not out yet. It's like anything. It's like a lot of things you see on the internet. It's, hey, look at this great new thing they discovered. Yeah, it's not available yet. So it has to be tested and validated. And in the future, if we have something like that, I think it'd be great.
I think everybody that gets a concussion should get a CAT scan immediately. And I think everyone that gets a concussion should not be able to do any contact training for, depending on the severity. I'll go with 3 months, unless it's just like I get dazed a little bit in sparring or something. Then I don't think they should spar or anything for at least a month. But I think if they get knocked out, I think Aljamain should not even be able to grapple hard for another 3 months. That was ugly. Naga scared the shit out of me. And I hope he's great.
Yeah. So anyway, I think a concussion, if you have a severe concussion, which is basically with loss of consciousness, those people are taken out for a while. A lot of concussions happen that are milder. They probably don't even get reported. You just get dinged or whatever you used to call it. Hey, he got dinged. It used to be funny. Like, this so-and-so got dinged. Let me tell you what's funny.
I used to get rocked so much when I was training, even sparring, because we used to spar every day, all out, trying to knock each other out. Bundini Brown, who was Muhammad Ali, he invented float like a butterfly, sting with a bee. He's the one that came up with that. And he owned this gym I used to train at, Muhammad Ali Boxing Gym in Santa Monica. And I used to get rocked so much. We used to have so many wars in the gym. He used to call me Mr. Hart. He said, Mr. Hart gets rocked so much. He's like lives in the Twilight Zone. He's got so much heart, he only has one lung. Anyway, he used to always say that. I'm not proud of that. But anyway,
but some people have a better resistance to it. Obviously, you did.
That's true? I got brain damage.
Well, you're functional.
Semi-functional. And we got Glover fighting. Where's it? Oh. Coming up next weekend. He's fighting
Saturday night.
Misha something. He's like
here, I'll load it up for you.
He's like he's from I think he's from is he from Poland or Russia or something?
Latvia.
I
think. Let me look him up here.
What else about Latvia? I don't even know where that is.
Latvia.
Where's Latvia? Latvia. Latvia. I have no idea where that is. Where is that? Anyway, I'm pulling for you, brother. Hope everything's great. I'm pulling for Glover. Glover's 26-6. His guy's 33-3. Guy looks like a beast, and I know he is one. But so is Glover. So I don't know. I think Glover has a little too much in his arsenals, his tools. But I'm pulling for Glover. So we got that coming up this week. What else we got? I don't know. That's a Lawler Dos Anjos main event. That's gonna be a freaking. Who's the semi-main? Oh, Lamos. Okay. And then shit! Look at that one. Ponzinibbio versus Mike. That is going to be a war. Oh my God. I don't want to see Glover's fight because I love Glover and I just don't like to see him fight. I don't want any of my guys to fight. I just want him to train, run a gym, and have a good time. So I don't want to watch him fight. I do want to see Lawler fight and Dos Anjos, but fucking Ponzinibbio versus Perry, that's going to be like the most brutal fucking war in the world. That's going to be World War. Has there been 3 yet? Close enough. All right, World War 3. That's going to be World War 3. That's going to be brutal. These guys are going to go. So that's going to be, we're going to watch that one. The fights are in, they're in Canada. So it's probably regular time, right?
Yeah, I think it's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern? So, okay, 5 p.m. So we're going to watch it at 5.
It's early. It's 5,
Okay, so
5 p.m. start time.
So we're going to watch it at 5. Oh, man, we got to watch that fight. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it right after the fight.
And then we'll talk about all the medical issues too.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think when people watch this podcast, they get the best of both worlds.
I think that's the idea.
That's why it's called Pitmaster in the Doc.
So we love your questions too. So ask questions about fight medicine. It's interesting. It's stuff I don't know about. I'll learn about it. We'll talk about it.
And I'm sorry about my Twitter. Okay, my Twitter was suspended for 12 hours.
How do you get banned from Twitter, John? Have you seen what the president tweets? How do you get banned from Twitter?
I was banned for. It was weird because I get up right.
What did you do?
Let me just show you. Okay, so I go to my Twitter.
Because the president fat shamed another world leader and he didn't get banned.
Wait, so I went on Twitter, right? I'm going to show you. These are all my pictures, guys. So don't worry, there's nothing. Believe me.
You can pause it and slow it down if you want to see all his pictures.
Okay, so this is what happened right here. This is 12. This was 2 hours and 45 minutes left. There was a countdown. Do you guys see that? There was a countdown.
You can't really. It doesn't come across on the screen.
Anyway, it says we have determined that you have violated the Twitter rules, so we've temporarily limited some of your account features. Yeah, like tweeting. Hello, that's the only feature I care about. While in the state, you can still browse Twitter, but you're limited to only sending direct messages to your followers. No tweets, no retweets, or likes. Your account will be restored to its full functionality and then there's a countdown. Check it out. Can you see this?
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I got. That's what I came on to.
So you were minding your own business, or what happened here?
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into too much. There's a certain celebrity that was, I don't know. I didn't like what she was writing. She was writing some negative things about the president and the fire that we have in California. And I'm pretty. Here's Ultimate Fighter season 11 team. That's Court McGee's team. Anyway, she was writing some negative things about the president and the fire, saying it was the president's fault because God hates the president so much. So she started the fire. So it irritated me. She's a celeb, what's her name? Chelsea Handler, the one that looks, God, she looks tore up. But anyway, so I just wrote her back and said, hey, retard. God actually hates the Democrats because they allowed Katie Steinle to get shot in San Francisco because of the sanctuary cities and the open borders, and so I don't know. I didn't think it was a big deal. She's calling the president a rapist. I mean, and she's still on. So I don't know if it was saying the word retarded or I don't know what it was, but I got booted for 12 hours.
Did you learn your lesson, John?
I did. I started a new account.
He was nervous for 12 hours. He was like, what am I going to do? No Twitter.
Because not because I go on the Twitter that much. It's because I use it for business too. So I'm not going to use that one anymore. Pit_master will only be used for martial arts, fitness, stuff like that. I started another Twitter account, the Hackstand, TheHack stand. STAND, the Hackstand, all one word, at the Hackstand. That's my new one. There'll be more political stuff. And I have a Facebook page, the Hack Stand as well. So I did learn my lesson. I'm not going to do that again.
It was a slap on the wrist. 12 hours.
12 hours.
12-hour ban.
That was 12 long hours,
You're such
man.
a bad boy, John.
Whatever. Anyway, so that's what we got, guys. We'll be back. We're going to talk about this fight as soon as it happens.
All right. Send in your questions. We'll talk about them. Good one, John.
All right.